Oh, for the love.
Sorry, just clearing my Mountain Dew hole.
I got my phone hole cleaned today.
That's where you keep it?
You're so cerebral and you're so developed and evolved. From the middle after dark over here.
Hello and welcome to From the Middle. This is episode number 60.
Double digits.
Double digits. Wait a second. No. I think we are still in the double digits. Episode number 60, From the Middle. We are three middle-class guys living in the middle of America. Middle-class guys, did I say it? Middle-class guys living in the middle of America. In the middle chapters of our lives with a point of view that is somewhere in the middle. My name is Kendall Ferkling, and over there is Corey and Dylan Herbal.
Hey guys,
What's up?
And we are pleased to be with you again here on a fantastic, what I'm hoping is going to be a fantastic Wednesday for you all out there joining us. We're just hanging out. That's what we do here. We talk about all kinds of things. We talk about a lot of nerdy things. Some of that's going to come at you today real quick.
Yep.
And we talk about non-nerdy things too sometimes. We talk about sports. We talk about, the weather. Sometimes we talk about cooking. Sometimes we talk about fish. I think we probably have talked about fish at some point in time. Point is, friends, we have a discussion, and we want you to be the fly on the wall for that discussion.
Oh.
And yeah, that's right. That's right. Other podcasts out there are hearing that, and I think they're probably thinking, this would be the good name of a network. And so that's what we do. That's what we're all about. We hope you guys join us. We hope you guys participate with us. We have Facebook groups and pages, and we have all of the social stuff. And at From the Mid Pod, find us there. Drop us a line. And if you're listening to this on a podcast or on YouTube, you can go down to the description, click on a link, and you can leave us a voicemail, and we'll play that should we deem it appropriate and respond to it. Those are some of our favorite things to do. Join us in that way. Find our Facebook group and join us there. That group has been a lot of fun. From the Middle for the Middlers.
Yep.
Is the Facebook group. And there's a group of us just hanging out there, having fun, trying to discuss each other with food pics and stuff. So
Great
Yeah,
job,
that's
Kendall.
what that's all
Really
about.
good
Thank
job
you.
on the intro, man.
Thank you.
Yeah, that was really nice.
The second longest intro ever. I've already done the first longest on another episode.
Yeah.
Call to action. I
Yeah.
just read we're supposed to do that. So here's your call to action.
That's
Call
right.
to action isn't that what I just did?
You did it marvelously. Hey, in 60 episodes, one of the greatest compliments that I think we've been paid is that I listen to you guys and I forget that I'm listening to a podcast and I start responding out loud thinking that I'm hanging out with you. And then I remember that I'm just driving in my car. And so if you want to take that conversation to a whole nother level, you can reach out to us at From the Mid Pod, or as Kendall just mentioned, on our Facebook group, From the Middle for the Middlers. We would love to continue the dialogue there, whether it's about something we've discussed on an episode, perhaps this episode, or whether it's a completely new topic or idea or question. We're game if you're game. So thanks for listening. We're excited. I have a feeling this one's going to be a random one. So if you are all right with going all over the map, then hop in. That's what we're going to do.
Yeah.
That's right. Consider my loins girded.
Oh. Okay.
Okay.
I'm sorry. I shouldn't have said that. I wish I could take that one out. Wish I could take that back. It's time for a sound effect. I don't know what the sound effect is, but I'm playing it.
That was a good one.
I don't know if that was appropriate or not.
It was the sound of a loin, so that's good. Here's a random one. I was talking to Dylan about this before we started recording. I'm very interested to hear how our listeners, if you're new, by the way, our listeners we fondly referred to as middlers, how this whole like working from home thing has affected either your role or your team or your business. Because if you don't know, in early episodes when we introduced ourselves and what we do during the day, profession or stay-at-home dad or whatever that may be, I shared that I'm a graphic facilitator. So I basically we lead strategy and vision sessions with customers, and the way that we do that is through like brainstormy kind of co-creation. Sorry for all the corporate buzzwords. Basically, I doodle on walls while meetings with executives happen. So we've been trying to figure out a way to do that virtually. So I just got off of like an hour ago a call with 12 different customers in Australia where we tried to do this brainstormy, whiteboardy type session in a virtual environment. And I got to tell you, it's tough. I mean, when you're normally, again, high profile customers, executives, you know, you're trying to facilitate a session with them that's thoughtful. You've done a lot of research going into it. You can read body language. You can know some of the politics in the room. That's all hard to do on a Zoom call, y'all, and draw on an iPad and try to make it interactive. And so, Dylan, you were saying, you know, not much has changed for you. In terms of...
I sell remotely to people who sell what I sell to other people. So everyone that I work with is at least like one state of separation between where I live and where they work. So my whole job can be done with an iPhone and a MacBook, and that hasn't changed. At my actual work, I'm working from home now and have been since mid-March, which is awesome. But my actual job doesn't matter where I work. So this is great.
Hey, first of all, let's be more vague about our jobs.
No kidding. Dylan's job sounds like it exists because there's a group of people that aren't good at dealing with people. And can't you see how well Dylan is at dealing with people?
There you go.
So I would love to hear from you all how your job has changed in this new normal, as it's often being referred to. Because it seems like, and I don't want to be a Debbie Downer, but it seems like this might continue for a while. So yeah, that's our first thing. I'd love to hear from her.
I guess right.
You guessed perfectly right. Well done. So Kendall's got these sound effects on our mixer board, but he doesn't know which ones are which because he doesn't have a label maker. So he's just punching them, hoping it's the right one. And that was a 1 in 15%. 6% chance. Okay. So anyway, that's the first one.
Yeah, I am genuinely curious, not so much about are people working from home or not, and do they like it? That's not
correct.
The question.
Right.
It's what percentage of impact of change does everything going on have on your actual work? There are going to be some people that, like myself, it's like, nah, the actual work I do is unaffected. I might have occasionally traveled, which I won't do now, once or twice a year, but for pretty much my job is the same. And so, yeah, I'd be really curious to find out. I'd love to hear from somebody that's like, my job, seriously, 5,000%, couldn't be more different. Like, here's how things used to go. Here's how things go now. I would love to hear from that person. We obviously all know, some restaurants don't let people come in and eat. They're just do all carry out or whatever. But other industries, I'd be seriously interested to learn.
Carry out, we are not tipping on, by the way. And Dylan is a robot, so he's going to need an exact percentage of how much your job has changed.
Yeah. Dylan just gave you guys homework.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, that's how AI learning works. The more data you feed it, the better it gets. So
that's right. What else is going on with you guys?
My wife got tested for COVID again. So that was fun. It was negative.
Still negative?
So it's not
Positive.
in our house.
Sweet.
Yeah. So it's not our fault.
Yeah,
All I'm saying.
I found a new show on Disney Plus that I feel like I'm gonna plug because none of us are getting any fresh air outdoors, and this show will give you that vicariously through your television. It's called Rogue Trip, like road trip, but not road. It's Rogue, and I gotta look up the names because I'm gonna get it wrong. There's a longtime ABC field correspondent, and his name is Bob Woodruff. Some people might know that name if they used to watch news, especially in the 90s and watched a lot of ABC News. But Bob Woodruff was an ABC field correspondent, and in the early 2000s, I think he was in outside of Baghdad or somewhere in Iraq, and he was with a cameraman. A bomb exploded. Long rehab. He had like facial reconstruction. Eventually was able to like remember his family and friends and speak again and walk again and all this crazy stuff. So because a lot of his job took him to these really hard hit war torn areas, the whole premise behind this documentary is that he's going back now with his son, basically all the places that tourists wouldn't normally go because they're the places that we've seen in the news for that might be lovely, lovely countries, but because they've had periods of turmoil and war and famine and other things going on, they're like last day destinations on earth. So for all these people who watch all these travel logs and you keep seeing like France and you see London and you see, whatever, there's 6 episodes on Disney Plus. They go to Colombia, Papua New Guinea, Ethiopia, Pakistan, Lebanon, and the Ukraine. So it's Bob and his son Mac, and then this crew that goes with him. And it's cool because he's got some stories that he'll things that he's remembered from times he's been reporting in those areas during wars or during whatever. And then to see it now through a kind of a new lens, also through his son, but also remembering some of what he had gone through in the past. It's really interesting. It's a short and sweet 6 episode season 1 thing. It's I think it was produced by National Geographic's team, but Disney owns them now, so that falls under Disney Plus as an original series. But it's really good if you're used to seeing all of these same shows talk about the same places all the time. It's interesting to see some entirely different countries and areas highlighted. Yeah, it's really cool. I know we've talked about Long Way Down and Long Way Around before, the Ewan McGregor and Charlie Borman docuseries. In Long Way Down, they cover some similar premises with these guys traveling. Everyone tells them before they're going to travel from Europe down through Africa, like, oh, you got to be careful in Africa and all these different places. And you start to see kind of how lovely a lot of these places are as far as just the people and the culture. And so anyways, elements of it remind me of that, but it's a pretty cool series. I don't know if you guys have heard of Bob Woodruff for that series, but it's pretty cool.
I have heard of neither. It sounds very much like something I would be interested in after I finish this Jeffrey Epstein documentary on Netflix. Oof. Yeah, that's a very different tone. I know that was a hard pivot, but yeah.
No kidding.
Well, what was crazy is in episode, maybe it is the first episode. I think it might be the second. Doesn't matter. One of these girls' stories is there's connections to Les Wexner, and she ends up going to his place, and then they do a drone flyover in New Albany of Les's place.
Yeah.
If you don't know, listeners, we record this in Central Ohio. New Albany is 10 minutes from me right now. And Les Wexner was former president and CEO, I think, of Limited Brands, which is Abercrombie and Hollister and Victoria's Secret and all the Bath and Body Works and all the things. So there are connections between Les Wexner and Jeffrey Epstein, and it's crazy. And it's crazy just how much people with money and power believe they can get away with and do get away with. Very interesting. I'm only halfway through the documentary, but Yeah, it's a 4-part series on Netflix. Whew.
Yeah. Yikes.
Goodness gracious.
Yeah, so
Tried to
I've
bring
had a hard time
little
finding something to. What's up, Dylan?
I tried to bring a little bit uplifting in there, like
Yeah.
sorry.
this comeback kid and Bob Woodruff. All right.
All right.
Yeah. What else can we talk about? The
Didn't hang
the sunset wasn't quite as pretty as it normally is today. We'll see if it bothers to come up tomorrow.
Nobody wants to play with me.
Where's my tail?
Guess I'll go take a walk. You guys, I have a question.
Yeah.
If you learned that an artist draws or paints over top of photos, would it cheapen the artwork for you?
My initial thought is yes. That's my initial thought. I don't know why exactly.
Are you asking me why exactly? Or are you saying you don't know why you think it makes?
Here's my thought is, so there's with newer generation, so my generation of musicians, like there is this sort of wholesome purist idea of if you're playing like tracks on stage when you're doing live music, that's just kind of icky. And like it just you play live. If you can't play it live, then just play it differently. And that's and still to this day, like when I see a band and stuff, and if I hear tracks playing, it's like it does change it a little bit for me. Not to the point where I'm like writing it off, but it does change it a little bit. And I highly respect. There's a different kind of respect that I have for the musicians that can play live and do it really, really well. And that's Cudler, like I think I've said it before, like Matchbox 20, as much as they're kind of out of my wheelhouse of a lot of the different types of rock that I listen to, they are one band that like live, they were known as a band that is phenomenal, great musicians in that band. And you go to their live sets and they're like jam sessions, man. And not the kind of band that you would expect that from, but it happened. And so it was like there's a different kind of thing there. It just like today's newer music just isn't about that whatsoever. And that's where I kind of feel like a crotchety old man really trying hard to understand where the youngsters are coming from. But even in the worship world, people are playing tracks. It's the norm. The big churches are doing it. You have basically these files, and they will play the song that you're playing, and you just like tell the computer that, today in the band we have this instrument, and that instrument, so we'll take those out of the track and we'll play those parts, but everything else is getting filled in. And like that has just always felt kind of like that. I don't know, I'm not comfortable doing it that way. It's like for what, like what are we serving there? But that's a different discussion. That gets into like a spiritual discussion of like, what's your motive behind doing it that way? Why can't you just play with the instruments that you have in your congregation and be able to worship? But so my initial thought, because I tie it to the music thing, is that cheapens it a little bit. That doesn't mean it's not good. It just, if it wasn't done that way, I have to admit that there would be a different kind of respect that I would have for the one that does the same thing, but not that way.
Okay, I have a clarity.
I'm also not a I don't draw, or so
Yeah,
I also
I
am ignorant to that industry.
Clarifying question, then I want to hear from Dylan. In a band, and I might be completely wrong on this. I want your thoughts. In a band, it's easier to hide behind other instruments or other tracks of things going on versus you being an artist doing portraits, and that is all you producing that thing that I'm going to see on Instagram or online or in person, that I literally traced over a photo of the person that I'm making the portrait of.
What's the question? Or are you
would you say it's easier with the tracks analogy to, like, because it's a mix of lots of layers of things, subtle layers of tracks behind other things that are performed live versus all of the art coming through one medium, one individual, and you saying that you drew or painted that when it was literally traced? Is it different?
So good. These are so good. These could be tracing. Kendall, I was just imagining some worship band who's listened to your comments there, and it's like, who do we got today? We got a cowbell and a bass guitar. Kendall says that's all we can use. Let's go. And like they're going to try to run praise and worship. Well, can't we just turn on the other instruments? No, we can't. Cowbell and bass guitar, roll it. Because Kendall said that's all they want to play. The question was so general, I just kind of took it that way. Like, if somebody's doing something kind of unique or different with it, or there's enough value that people are following this person and saying they're an artist, then they are, and I'm fine with it. You know, if you go visit somewhere in the world, there's always some person native to that area making some kind of artsy craft or painting. They have wood bowls and they paint landscapes on them, and they're kind of cheaply done, but you buy it because you find it's a unique thing you want to take home with you, and it's got art of the local scene on it. Is that person an artist to everybody else who's not an artist? Probably. And so is what they're doing really good, or are they an expert at it, or are they doing something unique or different? No, probably not. But to most people, I think that is art, and that is creating something. Some people like to play around with, tracing and editing photos, and that to me is probably as general as calling somebody an artist if there's some kind of following for what they're doing, or they feel like they're creating. So I guess to me, it was such a broad question. It's sort of like a I'll allow it answer. But I would need context. If you said they were charging $500 a piece to literally go into Procreate and outline a face in gold and like, look, it's your gold portrait, then no, that's not art. But like, in general, if somebody's trying to do something cool and unique over top of portraits and images, there's probably lots of people that like to play around and do digital art on top of,
Yeah. But the question wasn't, are they an artist or not? That's not the question.
Yeah. Well, right. So your question was, does that bother me?
Does it cheapen the artwork?
Does it cheapen it? Does it cheapen it?
What I'm saying, it doesn't cheapen it. No, because in any general setting, no, it's their version of art. It's fine. It's not cheap.
Let me give you two anecdotal examples.
Cool.
The first one was years ago. I was working in an office setting, and somebody said, let's call her Stacy. Stacy does portraits, family portraits. I'm like, oh, cool. I didn't know she was into art, and I'm into art. I'd love to. So I go over to Stacy. I was like, hey, I heard you do portraits. She's like, yeah. I was like, I would really love to see one. She's like, oh, here's one I'm working on. And it's like a lunch break or something. So she's like, I'm going to show you a little bit more. So she takes her computer monitor. She turns it from perpendicular to the desk to parallel with the desk, pulls up the portrait of the person she's doing a pencil sketch of, and then sketches the values right over top of the photo of the person. And I was like, oh, that's real cool. Okay.
See, that's where and that's where cheapen by the term, and by what I was trying to say was like there's a different classification that it kind of would give to the musician who's able to pull it off live, or if they don't have the right instrumentation, do something else live. There's a kind of respect that's there for that thing that is reserved for that person, and the one who can only play to a backing track is not that. So quite literally, with the word cheapen, I would pay more to sit in front of a portrait artist and have them draw me like a French girl than I would pay more for that than I would pay to send somebody a picture and have them trace it and do a portrait that way.
Yeah.
So yes, literally, it's cheaper to do it that way in my book.
Well, and I'm hyper aware that this only bothers me as an artist, so that's why I'm testing it with you guys.
Okay.
Well, And so to play off of my comment a little bit, is Stacy giving away her art, or is Stacy charging for her art? Would be my question, because those are very different. So in general, if Stacy's doing neat drawings and she gives them to people as like a workplace little buddy thing, like, cool, hey, I did this drawing off some Facebook photos, and it's meant to be pinned by your desk or something, then fine. It doesn't cheapen it. It's not cheap if somebody's just trying to do something.
If it's free,
they're giving it away. It's not always free, but that's certainly part of it, right? Like now, if Stacy says, I put it in this frame and it's $1,000, I'm going to have a problem with that. Yes, that would cheapen it.
Yeah.
So there's context, because not all art and creation is meant to be sold. And so cheapen is a harsh word if somebody's just doing something because they get enjoyment out of it.
Okay, so here's my other example. This person draws one of my favorite artists, by the way. This person draws professional athletes, and he doesn't quite do caricatures of them because they're for the most part realistic. But he does the thing where he like the bold, thick black outline and then like really cool stylized coloring. 42,000 followers on Instagram.
Mm-hmm.
And like he's working for some licensed companies and producing licensed t-shirts and stuff. And I start, and my intentions were pure. Okay. But I start feeling like the more I look at some of these things, I'm like, these are iconic poses from some of these famous athletes. I wonder. And so I found the photos of the athletes in the poses and laid them over top of his drawings in Photoshop. And I was like, son of a gun.
Yes, it cheapens it.
But here's the part that bothers me most. He's never mentioning any of his process. And when he does show a close-up of his Apple Pencil on the iPad screen and he's doing the line work, he conveniently removes the photo layer and only shows the line art layer.
Yeah.
To give the perception. And I'm like, okay, is this just bothering me because I'm a purist and maybe there's a competitive thing there? But I'm like, that feels wrong that you're leaving out that that's very much part of your process. And Stacy wasn't telling anybody but me, because I'm an artist, just how she was doing those family portraits, by the way. So it just feels like you're leaving that out. Like you should say that somewhere at the bottom. Like, I literally drew right over top of famous athlete. I don't know, maybe.
Yeah. On the one hand, the second guy for sure sounds, that just sounds nefarious. Stacy, on the other hand, I don't know. Again, it depends on if she's charging and how much. So if she's trying to actually charge according to her time, she should charge according to how long it actually takes her, not how long it would take somebody else to actually draw the portrait themselves. And so I hope that she's not doing B, but actually just doing A and then sipping on Margie's the rest of the time.
So the second guy, I actually DM'd him.
Okay, yeah.
Because we have some mutual friends. Can't let it go, man. I have issues. I said, hey, man, like, I just want to understand because I respect your work. By the way, whole separate note, the guy can draw. When he does stuff freehand where he's doing a video of it, it's awesome. There's no question on whether or not he can draw.
Yeah.
And I said, I just noticed that a couple of these like iconic poses, like, dude, I Photoshopped, like it's the same. He's like, yeah, I do trace just for speed. And because big company that I work for doing these licensed merchandise, like they don't want me to draw freehand. They want it to be, he's like, so I just do it for speed. And because of like likeness, they want me to just do it this way. I hope you don't think less of my stuff or whatever. And I was like, no, it makes sense. I just feel like you never make it clear that that's part of your process or whatever. So for those of you, those people following you, thinking I'll never be at his level, or I'll like his stuff is so clean. It's like I almost feel like you should say that in the bottom right corner somewhere. But I get his point, right? Like, anyway, we're way down in the weeds on this one now, but I thought it was an interesting.
This is
value.
the actor. This is the difference between an actor who's picky and choosy and an actor who will never turn down a paying job now. That's where we are. Guys like, look, they said if I would hold up the prescription medicine box and say 3 lines, they're going to cut me a check for $800,000. Okay. I've never taken this stuff. But look, I'm going to do the ad because that's what you guys want. And I'm just not going to turn down a paying gig. And that's what we're talking about.
Yeah. Looking at you, sponsors.
Yeah. This guy's just willing to hold up the box and go, this is the best prescription I've ever taken. And it's an empty box and he's never touched it before.
You so well take something that I've put way too much thought into and like give it like a really simple breakdown, and I go, oh yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was putting way too much mental energy into that. Okay, next.
But it takes your overthinking and an almost annoying level of overthinking to think that you have to reach out to the person to get an explanation and give me the backstory that I need to be able to regurgitate it back to you and go, yeah, he's just Christopher Lee. He takes any acting job he can get. His filmography is like 300 movies long. Yeah. Some people are like that. It's fine. It doesn't. Yeah. If huge sports sponsor was going to write you a check for $600,000, you do a tracing too. It's fine.
They're so good they could be tracings.
They're so good they could trace. Yeah.
Hey, Middlers, what are your thoughts on all this? Whether it's an artist or any other, sort of creative profession where they're borrowing from other resources, maybe music, maybe art. Anyway. Hey, we have an email from a Middler that I wanted to get into.
Do it. Cue it.
And it's from Brett.
Quite a long pause.
And it's from a while ago. We just did our last episode was from the Middler 6, where we played some backed voice messages from people. And Brett, I'm really sorry that we missed this. This is a good question. Brett says, longtime listener and second-time emailer. After listening to your most recent podcast about watching Adam Savage organize his Lego, and from previous podcasts talking about his one-day builds, I have a question. You may have discussed this before, but here it goes. Can watching YouTube and other social media both inspire and stall your own creativity at the same time? What do you think? Thanks, Brett. P.S. If you have not yet tried the zipper merge, give it a try. So the question is, can watching YouTube and other social media both inspire and stall your own creativity at the same time?
Yes.
Yep.
Great question.
Yeah. So to flesh it out a little bit, I see inspiration, I think, more than stall. I'm not sure that I would blame the medium the media, YouTube, on the stalling part. Yeah. But I think inspiration for sure. Like you get stuck in a rut or whatever, and you just need ideas. Because I can tell you, like for us, even like planning this show, what we're going to talk about, and it's like, man, we can't think of something, and then finally one of us comes up with an idea, and then all three of us just start spitting out ideas. Like it just, you need something to get the ball rolling sometimes. And so watching Adam Savage, like, build a handle for his boom mic, or his shotgun mic. I don't know if you guys saw that one.
I did.
That was pretty sweet. Like that, just like, I don't have any, I'm not going to go out and do that, but that, like watching that, I was thinking like, man, I could just fix a problem by building something or whatever. But the stalling part, I don't know. I mean, I guess maybe if like you're just getting all of your ideas from YouTube and it doesn't create any new ideas for you, I don't know. What do you guys think?
I think it would depend on what you're talking about, because I can imagine like somebody who wants to be a reviewer on YouTube of, let's say, like a certain thing, laptops or something. It could, if you jumped into somebody who was already really good at that, thought, wow, their camera quality is so good, and they've already got a set, and they've already got all these tools, and like they already have all these digital effects that I don't know if I could even jump in and learn how. It would take. I think people could get stifled by seeing people who are significantly further along in certain processes and thinking, well, it's going to take so long for me to get there. Is it even worth it? It would be really easy to look at Joe Rogan's studio and think, man, he's got, probably tens of thousands of dollars worth of equipment. He's got, and all these people on payroll. I'm never going to be able to do that. Versus something like podcasting specifically, it's like, just start, like just do it and figure out the rest along the way. So I think it just depends on what it is. If it's a physical thing, I can see, but I've also, as a Lego fan, I've looked at like little stuff and kind of been inspired, like, I might be able to build something like that. But then I've seen these just massive, hyper detailed, fantasy worlds and dioramas, and just got to do, the amount of bricks it would take and the amount of planning and all the detail, I could never do that. I don't know.
You articulated really well something I've talked about on this podcast before as an artist. And actually the guy I just mentioned was one of the guys that had this effect on me, where it's like, you have to choose to be inspired by those people, not immobilized by those people. And Kendall, to your point, like I watch Adam Savage build and I go, I'm not going to build that thing he just built. But watching him create and watching him make makes me want to go create and makes me want to go make. Yes, to the part about stalling, you could get completely sidetracked just watching Adam Savage for 17 days straight and never doing anything. But,
that's what I do.
When it comes to somebody in your field, that's what I tell people all the time. Like, try to be inspired by that, not immobilized by it and go, I'll never be there. Like, it's a fundamental choice the minute you see that, and you can equally go down either path. Like, I just discovered a new creator on YouTube, Jimmy DiResta. Have either of you guys ever heard of DiResta?
No.
It's in the style of Adam Savage, but he does them time lapsed, and he makes he does modifications to like weapons, but he also just makes stuff from scratch and fascinating stuff. Like, he made a guitar out of an AK-47. He does a lot of leather and wood stuff and metal and sculptures, and it's awesome. So if you want to stall even more, go find Jimmy DiResta's channel on YouTube. But yeah, thanks for the question, Brett. Sorry it took us a hot second to get into it. We got one more email here from David. He says, I, like Kendall, have had issues with keeping my trousers above my waist. It was inherited from my father, who wore thin 4-way suspenders with those tiny metal clips. They never worked for me. I ended up adding buttons to my trousers and wearing very fashionable sweater vests to work, even in the hot summer. I bought a pair of Perry suspenders, as was recommended on your last show. So far, I feel very free and able to garden easily. So, Kendall, did you ever finish that gallon of wild turkey? Have heard all the shows. The only gaming I have done is Pac-Man. I was terrible. So good to hear about other games. Keep up your middle Wednesdays. Dave. Used to work with Amy.
Thanks, Dave.
I love Dave. Shout out to Dave. I've been wanting to shout out to Dave because I heard from Amy that he had been listening. And Dr. Dave, he is actually the guy who used to work with Amy. He is now retired, enjoying his retirement, I hope.
Well, he can keep his pants up while he's gardening. So
he can keep his pants up while gardening. And yeah, I will say, like the metal clip suspenders that he's referring to, like I wore those for a while, and I gave up on wearing suspenders because those were just, I mean, I got smacked in the face one time by a problem, and I didn't like them either. And so I just gave up on suspenders. I didn't want to do the whole buttons in the trousers thing. I don't know why. It was a big enough hurdle that I just gave up on it, on suspenders, until I came across the Perry suspenders thing, and I am wearing them right now.
2 votes for Perry's. Cool.
Love you, Dave. But I do want to also say, Dave, that the the wild turkey that you gave me was much appreciated. It is gone. So Dave, I guess for a party or something had purchased that, like if you've ever seen like the big giant party size bottles of liquor of wild turkey, and he found out that I liked bourbon and even more specifically wild turkey, and so he had like almost an entire gallon of wild turkey and gifted it to me in a in what felt like a shady fashion, because like we had to meet like in a parking lot like just off of hospital property to do a handoff. But it is gone. It has been finished. I didn't finish it right away. I paced myself. That was years ago. For listeners and for you guys out there. So it wasn't like he gave me a gallon of wild turkey like 3 hours ago and I downed it. That wasn't the case. It took me a very long time, over probably a good couple of years, to get through that. So
nice.
Thanks, Dave.
I'm really glad you brought up beverages, because I have one more little sort of
yeah.
one more sort of little weird thing. And then for those of you that were wondering if we watched any of San Diego Comic-Con at home, we did, and we are going to talk about some of the panels and things that we caught. But having individual cold beverages, I'm not talking adult beverages only, having individual cold beverages in the fridge makes me feel wealthy.
Is it because you associate it with like MTV Cribs, like check out the fridge, man. I've got my
So I did a little research on why I think this is. Okay. In my grandpa's house, when we were growing up, my grandma at the time had little tiny cans of Jumex apricot nectar.
That's the stuff.
And she had them lined up in the fridge, and they were on the lower shelf. And I didn't know how expensive they were. And I would just grab them like they were Mott's apple juice and just chug them. And they were upper middle class. And so I just associated, I think, and it is probably Cribs too, like when they open their fridge and they've just got whatever they want lined up.
You can deck a fridge out with individual beverages in a visual way that you just can't otherwise.
Yeah. And so the other thing that's true about Sherry and I is that we like having beverages. We drink more than we care about like awesome food. So I would eat bologna and peanut butter roll-ups for every meal. But if I have tons of drinks in the fridge, it's a special feeling.
And I think, correct me if I'm wrong, it's a combination of quality but also quantity and organization. So it's not just a fridge full of like great Faygo cans. It's not just that. It's because anyone could have a bunch of drinks, and we're in the part of the country where everyone has a second fridge in their garage, right? If you own a home, you have the old fridge goes to the garage and you stock it with drinks. And so it's not just that. It's not just like, oh, I shoved a bunch of Faygo in here. But it's like, it's things that are kind of, you might have bought a couple 6-packs of like the Starbucks cold glass bottle drinks. And those are all lined up neatly. And then somebody else might like have 20-ounce bottles of Lipton raspberry tea. And then somebody else is going to have like a couple rows of their favorite sodas. Maybe somebody else has energy drinks, their favorite kind of energy drinks, all lined up and sorted by flavor. They're not all just, the tops of them aren't just spread out all over. They're rows, they're clean, it's variety. It's not the cheap versions of the drinks. It's not Mountain Lightning and Faygo. This is the real stuff.
So I can't be alone in this, and I would love. We're giving you so many things to react to in this episode. Do you feel this way? Do you feel like you kind of feel better? Because even though it's true for Sherry and I that we do often have a fair
even married a person named after a drink.
Yeah. A few drinks on hand.
Dylan likes cheese.
See.
True. Also true.
So Sherry and Lily go to Kroger the other day, and even though we love having beverages on hand, Sherry hates getting them because your cart ends up weighing a bajillion pounds, and you have to carry it all. A little bit of a hassle. You got to carry it all out to your car. But she had 13-year-old scrappy little Lily with her, so she goes, "Hey, your dad's been working a lot on the pool and outside a lot, and I know he likes having Gatorade Fierce Grape when he's done mowing." So they got, you guys, the entire garage fridge is full of tea, Gatorade, Mountain Dew. I'm trying this new Diet Dr. Pepper with cream soda.
How is it?
Review it. Yeah.
Pretty good.
I need
Also, Diet Coke Ginger Lime, life-changing.
Man, all these companies owe us so much more money.
Diet Coke Ginger Lime. Sorry, I got a zit. So good. And I think there's a part that I do like hosting. So I like knowing that when I have people over, I can say, "Come with me. Let me take you to the garage refrigerator where I have," and there are also a few adult beverages, but you have your options. Do you like a lager? Do you like an ale or a pilsner? Do you like yourself a stout? You want some Guinness? I got it. I got it right here.
You got to be prepared for people that are working on their summer bods. Put some Diet Fresca in there. Make sure you've got some healthy drink options. Maybe a little Powerade or Gatorade Zero, something like that.
Got some of that. We also got
carbonated dirt water.
Yeah, we got some of that one water that Sherry likes. What's it called?
Carbonated dirt water.
Is it LaCroix?
LaCroix. We got LaCroix in there. We got a little bit of everything, whatever you want. Do any of you feel that way? I'm very interested in hearing what you all have to say.
Yeah. I also think a little part of that, I was thinking about this the other day because you sent a picture of all your drinks. And I was thinking about it, and I thought, we also grew up in a house where we didn't get cans very often because it was, quote, cheaper to drink out of 2 liters. Although I still submit it was not. I could fill a 24-ounce glass 3 times, and it would have been a lot less soda than if I just grabbed 1 can. But anyways, that's what we were told. So everything was in gallon jugs or 2 liters, and it was, and so I think there was a little bit of draw there. I mean, I remember like having the bottles of the good grape juice, and some of our friends thinking with stemmed glasses that we would drink juice out of, thinking our house was fancy, because it's you guys are allowed to drink the white grape juice.
The Welch's sparkling
because we're drink people. We've always liked having a variety of different types of drinks around the house. And so it was bringing back some of these memories.
Yeah, I'm why is that such an appeal to me? Anyway, sorry. Once again, spending way too much time.
No, I'm digging this conversation, man. Because there is, I think, that's at least a few of us who have this draw to having the individual. And yeah, you went to the gas station and having a gas station fridge in your home. There's something very appealing about that I too enjoy. I enjoy having the individual bottles or whatever of whatever I'm drinking, and I like to organize them. I think it looks nice. I feel better. The chemicals in my brain go crazy when I come home from a grocery store and I just I get all that stuff stocked in. I'm there. I'm with you.
Is there anybody else that the next level of that is if you have a basement or an entertaining space that's maybe a little bit different than your normal living room, and you have the branded mini cooler fridge with the glass front, and there's racks, this isn't just a fridge the plebeian fridge with just normal shelves. This is there's the cutouts for the drinks to stock them your own store, and you've got the glass front with the LED lighting, and you kick it open, and there's a little cool air right in your face.
Oh yeah,
varieties. Yeah.
When we were in Amway, some of our upline, they called it, had movie theater rooms where they had glass concession stands, and Junior Mints and Goober and the Sour Patch Kids and the popcorn machine, and just it was always fully stocked of all the movie theater sized snacks. I was like, that's put it on my dream board. Yeah, pretty special. All right. Hard pivot. San Diego Comic-Con at home. For those of you that listened to episode 59, we talked about how that was starting last Wednesday. And first time they've ever done it at home because of all the corontas. And they had a lot of panels. They still did, one of the big things that's popular at the conventions is the cosplay. So they did a masquerade where people could still show off the costumes that they've worked so hard on. So what, if anything, did you guys manage to watch of the Comic-Con at home, San Diego Comic-Con at home?
Interestingly, what we can kind of compare some of the different panels that we watched. There might have been some overlap, but I'll highlight, I don't think you guys watched I watched a bit of the Star Trek panel because I knew that was something that you guys were significantly less likely to watch. And it was cool. They did like part of an episode read. They were asking some questions about how, Star Trek is always sort of like taking a spin on whatever the current social issues were. So you've got like the first on-screen kiss between a Caucasian and African American were Star Trek, and it was William Shatner and Nichelle Nichols, and so talking about that and how the climate and the culture today too still lends itself to that kind of storytelling. But I also thought it was fun. So they mentioned Star Trek Discovery, Picard, the Lower Decks animated series that we had referenced. But they're actually partnering with Nickelodeon. They're going to do a kids Star Trek animated series.
What?
Specifically built for kids called Star Trek Prodigy. So I thought that was kind of fun, like specifically geared towards little kids to be able to like have that kind of sci-fi show that wouldn't be too scary or too adult themed, with some of the creatures or aliens or social issues or whatever. So I thought that could be kind of fun for anybody who likes to find some of those kind of unique sci-fi fantasy shows for kids. I didn't catch it, or they didn't announce a release date. A lot of stuff is kind of weirdly on hold, but animated stuff can keep getting worked on. So yeah. I'm not sure if this is already in progress or whatever, but I thought that was kind of cool that they talked about that kid show geared towards little kids.
Do you know if the story arc will tie to any of the other character arcs or characters?
I don't. They might have mentioned it. The hard thing about doing Comic-Con at home is if you're doing it at home, especially during the workday, you're multitasking. So I was listening as intently as I could, but also like, checking emails and other stuff.
Yeah.
No, it'll be interesting to see. They'll probably not want to canonize a Nickelodeon show. So it'll probably have characters. But it's kind of like when Star Wars does Star Wars and Lego team up for those little animated shows where they kind of view that as like legends. I would guess it'll be like that, but I have no idea.
Yeah.
It could be anything.
That sounds interesting. What else did you catch?
The other obviously big news from the kind of stuff that we would talk about, Mulan and the film Mulan and Black Widow are pushed back indefinitely at this point. Theaters are what they are.
Yeah.
That's kind of a bummer. I think there was a lot of people hoping that Disney would push those to Disney Plus as sort of big blockbusters to push to their new streaming service. But I think they were expecting quite a bit of theater revenue for some of those, and I don't think they want to jeopardize that. So,
yeah.
Unfortunately, those are going to be pushed back for anybody that was excited about them. Same with there's other Marvel content that is not branded Marvel. Hellstrom on Hulu, New Mutants finally, the film New Mutants is going to finally be in theaters, I think this time in August. So there's a lot of other kind of general Marvel stuff, and then some of the Rob Liefeld interview was interesting. He's a character, man. For anybody who doesn't know, like Deadpool was his claim to fame. And he is, interestingly though, working on a G.I. Joe Snake Eyes comic which the cover art, at least that he shared, looked pretty awesome. So if you're into that kind of stuff, it was pretty cool. But yeah, Rob Liefeld was throwing a little shade at Disney and Marvel for not doing enough with Deadpool. He's like, I'm a comic guy. I'm not in that industry, so I don't care about what I say. And so he was sort of going off a little bit, which, it's fine. It is what it is. But it was, I don't know why I was hoping for more overall, in the sense that I had hoped that there would still be stages, maybe empty rooms, but still stages where they were showing some of this, and people would be distanced on stage. But they clearly took advantage of not having to worry about travel accommodations and all that. Because unfortunately, in a way, when all these people are sitting in their living room with a t-shirt on, it feels kind of like every other work Zoom call you've been on.
Yeah.
4 months. And so I was excited to get to catch some of it, but I was disappointed that it's almost like they didn't know what viewership would be. So there was very little effort to build it into a big thing. When you're pushing it out to YouTube, you have the opportunity to attract all kinds of people who might have never watched or been a part of something like this. And it felt like almost a bunch of work meetings with a slightly more interesting subject. So yeah, overall it was fun to watch some of the videos and panels. Those were the Rob Liefeld, the Star Trek, and then some of the Marvel news. Interesting to hear it. I'm glad I caught what I caught. Which panels did you guys catch?
So I didn't watch a whole lot. I started many, but I think you just described it kind of well. Like, man, I just found myself like getting antsy. Like I can't sit here and watch this. And so I actually went so far as to like, I felt like it would be better as a podcast, delivered as a podcast. And so I went looking and I didn't find anything. And I felt like that would have been a great idea if they would take all these panels, convert them over into a podcast, and let me listen to them while I'm doing other things. That would have been preferable for me. But also for me, like, I don't know who any of these people are. Like, I'm not deep dive on any of this stuff really. And so for me, like, I'm a fan of Star Wars. I'm a fan of Star Trek as well. I'm a fan of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, which that was one that I did watch a lot of, the panel of the creators there, but of the original movie. This is their 30-year anniversary of that movie. But I tell you what, I did watch it. There were a few other things that were they were different. They were not panels. They were just quick little, like 5-10 minute, stupid little things. A gal made rock candy and called it kryptonite, and she shared this recipe of making rock candy, and so it was like cooking with science kind of thing. So I watched that, and that was cool. I watched a guy make crossbow out of Lego. Yeah. So that was cool.
They had like different artists from some of the shows like teach people how to draw one of the characters, and
there was one of those.
Little things like that.
Yeah. The catering company, a catering company, like I guess who was sponsoring, like just shared I was waiting for it to have some kind of. They shared a mac and cheese video, a mac and cheese recipe video, and I was waiting for some kind of a tie-in, but it wasn't. It was literally just a mac and cheese video. So that's so I watched several of those. But I did watch Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, and that was just fun. I mean, there was nothing groundbreaking really there. Other than the writers, the two writers that they were talking to about it. Interestingly enough, like they weren't fans of it when they started it, as in like they didn't even know what Teenage Mutant Turtles were. And so like another guy that they worked with was like in New York to see Gallagher and went to a comic book store, saw these Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle comics and bought them. And then like overnighted them to one of the writers and was like, we're going to make a movie out of this. and they did. Like that was an origin story.
At the time of the first movie, they didn't know what it was.
Yes.
I thought you meant now. And I'm like,
no.
how do you live in the world and not even
They
know,
living in
like,
a sewer?
what they
Were they
are?
living in the sewer? No, these guys. This
Uh,
panel was two writers of the original movie.
That makes way more sense because I'm like,
Yeah.
even people that don't know, they're like, isn't that the kids' cartoon? You know, with the turtles and the
Right.
okay, that made
So
way.
30 years ago, movie number 1.
God,
Yeah.
now I'm gonna go back and watch them.
So Dylan, you mentioned the New Mutants. That was actually one of the featured panels. I ended up watching that. So for those of you that don't know, it's a whole nother round of mutants from the X-Men storylines. And this movie was originally supposed to come out in April of 2018. It got delayed because they didn't want to butt up against Deadpool 2. So then they slated it to be released August 2nd, 2019 to avoid Dark Phoenix. And then it got pushed back again because of all this craziness. So it's now supposed to come out in August. A relatively well-known cast of characters. The girl that plays Arya Stark from
Game of Thrones.
Game of Thrones, thank you, is in it, as well as a few other young folk who are the new generation of X-Men. That was kind of interesting to just hear them talk about it and what the fan reaction has been with all the delays. Then I started watching a panel on, it's called The Boys. Season 2 comes out of The Boys. This is an Amazon Prime exclusive. And I forget who was telling me about this show recently, but they're like, you got to watch The Boys. So this sort of turns the superhero stuff on its head. I'm just going to read you the promo from the internet. Superheroes are often as popular as celebrities, as influential as politicians, and sometimes even as revered as gods. But that's when they're using their powers for good. What happens when the heroes go rogue and start abusing their powers? When it's the powerless against the super powerful, the boys head out on a heroic quest to expose the truth about the Seven and Vout, the multi-billion-dollar conglomerate that manages the superheroes that covers up their dirty secrets. So anyway, this is basically like you have superpowers and you use them for selfish gain, or so it's not for kids. I understand it's a pretty intense show, but I stopped watching the panel for season 2 because they were getting a little spoilery about season 1, and I still want to watch it on Amazon Prime. And then I caught a few other things. I started to watch the Lucasfilm, the stuff they're releasing with the comics and the books, but then I realized I don't really read a lot of fiction, so I stopped watching that. But there is some really cool stuff they're doing around the storytelling over at Lucasfilm. We've shared some stuff over on our Facebook page. Yeah. But anyway, super interesting. Did you guys hear anything about the exclusive figures or toys or anything that people got while they were there?
Well, quick disclaimer, if you're not into nerdy stuff and you've made it this far and you're excited to get back into the theaters, New Mutants is not the movie like a fun, cutesy superhero Captain America X-Men movie. This is like Marvel bought Fox, and this movie was done before Disney and Marvel bought Fox. This is like a horror movie in the X-Men universe.
Horror movie. This is a very meant to be intentionally very scary adult, like 20s and up type movie. So don't take your kids to see New Mutants, not cutesy X-Men film or Captain America film. Anyways, the only toy thing that I kind of honed in on was, unfortunately, Rob Liefeld highlighting this Snake Eyes toy that was pretty cool that he had. But he's huge on like all his Deadpool collectibles and stuff. Yeah. Like, I think we follow him on Instagram, and he's always highlighting action figures. This Japanese company made a $500 Deadpool custom whatever, and so I saw some Funkos. If you follow Funko at all, it's literally Fun Company, but it's Funko, and they make a lot of, like, if bobbleheads had bigger heads but they didn't bobble with big huge eyes, like these cutesy things. You've seen them in boxes at Walmart and Target and Meijer and all those kinds of stores. I saw some of the limited edition ones and the new partnerships. Those were cute.
I actually saw a lot of that one as well, that Funko one.
Yeah.
Man, I lost the train of thought. I had it.
I
had
saw the
something.
Stan Lee one. Were there any other like really cool ones?
Oh, there was a toy one that I actually saw that was because we're all Xbox people here, and it was Halo toys that I saw. So they had like they were building toys, right? And they were very careful not to use the word Lego. So take that for what it's worth. But they had like a really cool looking Master Chief helmet that apparently you could buy, and like a Target exclusive. And they also had the energy sword, which it's like the two pronged like blue glowing sword. And they had one of those that you could build, which looked pretty freaking cool.
Kendall, I'm so proud of you. This is like the geekiest you've ever been on this show.
Well, thank you. Look, there is stuff that I care about, just not to that level, man. You know, I've watched Comic-Con videos before of things, but like to Dylan's point, like if they were on a stage and having a presentation that was being videotaped and then I could watch it, and like that would have been so much better than just watching all these Zoom calls.
Yeah, I hear
that. It was really hard for me to get into it that way.
We're all tired of Zoom calls.
I just feel like there was an opportunity. Like some of these, you know, like Sony will do a big event for the new PlayStation and they rent out an arena and there's a stage and huge screen with video game trailers cut like movie trailers. And I just felt like this was kind of the opportunity for some of these comic studios and movie studios to really release some cool stuff to a much wider audience. I mean, think about normally you'd have an event like this and you're lucky if you see the leaked trailer from the leaked exclusive trailer from Comic-Con where it's a handy cam or a phone in a venue and you're trying to watch this unique trailer to a thing. They could have made this a huge year to like, hey, let's really try this. We can try to get a whole audience that's never even stepped foot in the convention center because we're just going to stream it on YouTube and let people tune in.
Indeed.
I feel like they missed it, man. It could have been made a bigger production, and I feel like they missed it.
I mean, some of the panels too had like really cool looking like title videos that you could watch this really cool put together digital video for like 2 minutes, and then it's like, and here we go, Zoom call.
Yeah, and some of these were done even up to a month before. Like they were pre-recorded, edited, put together, and just played. You know, it wasn't even like a live call or a live whatever. Yeah, I just feel like the opportunity was there. It could have been bigger and a little more entertaining. If people can't be there and meeting celebrities and seeing these cool collectibles and cool limited edition comics, then play it up, have fun with it.
Yeah.
And that was a nod that the Funko creators got, because instead of just doing a Zoom call talking about, oh, well, we're going to launch this McDonald's line and this Disney line, they made like an infomercial of them selling their future lines to be like quirkier and more entertaining. And so, you know, it's fine. I think they all just want to get back in the arena and go back to normal. But it just felt like this was a big opportunity for people like us to go, oh, that's what it's like. It's so cool that we got to see it streamed.
Yeah.
What are you going to do?
Everything's different now.
Everything's different now. So I think that was the most that I got that from the panels that I saw. There were lots, and you can still see them, like the little panels you guys described. You know, being a teacher and using comic art and being how to create with this and this type of social issue in comics. And there's a ton of those videos for people that want to go find them. A lot of that stuff was uploaded, and people can go find whole day recaps that are 11-hour long videos, or you can find, you know, 5 and 10 minute chunks and look up things that are interesting to you, which, to their credit, at least you can find them chopped up and then longer versions to kind of take it in how you want.
Yeah, there is an astounding amount of content if you go to their YouTube channel, Comic-Con International, and I'm going to go back to it. Like there's stuff there that I'll watch in the future for sure. And just Maybe I'll go ahead and go for that free trial of YouTube, and where I can listen in the background, because I haven't done that yet. And when I do that, I will just listen to YouTube as if it were a podcast.
There you go.
Speaking of podcasts, if you have
This is one.
This is one. And if you've listened or watched this long, you deserve a special treat. And we are going to titillate you with a little teaser tease.
Fun word. Anyway.
Some exciting things are happening here at From the Middle. We can't tell you all the details yet, but let me just summarize it by saying we're moving on up.
Where are we going?
To the east side.
So what's the living situation like? Like an apartment? Are we moving into a house together? Are we getting
It's a deluxe apartment.
a deluxe apartment? And is it like beachfront property? Are we going to be elbow to elbow with our neighbors? What kind of where is it?
It's in the sky.
Oh,
It's a deluxe apartment in the sky on the east side.
on the east side.
That's where we're moving on up to. You know, fish don't fry in the kitchen, and beans don't burn on the grill.
No idea.
Took a whole lot of Turian just to get up that hill, but now we're up in the big leagues. You know, so
Yep.
Anyway, exciting things. Exciting things here
really
from the middle. Super excited to share all of what that means with you in the not too distant future. So stay tuned.
Yeah, or it doesn't happen and you never hear from us again.
Yeah, just like that episode on funny family stories we were going to do.
We still have some material for that if we want
We
to.
have some. I've got
We
a
have some.
couple. I've got a couple doozies, but we need more. So if you had an odd or funny family story, we would seriously love to do that episode. Maybe a year after we started promoting the idea. So let us know.
They get it, Corey. They want funny. We want whatever.
Okay.
You know what we're talking about. You know.
Hey, thanks for tuning in to episode 60. We did the call to action at the front. Let's do another quick one at the end. We would love to hear from you. Reach out to us on social media at From the Mid Pod on all social media channels. We have a Facebook page and a Facebook group. You can email us at fromthemiddle@protonmail.com, protonmail.com. We have stickers still available, some really nice vinyl decals if you want one. Kendall's going to show you what they look like. You don't get that whole white rectangle. You get that. Peel it off a little bit. Show them what it looks like when you peel it off. Yeah, it's a real nice die cut little sticker for you there. So you can see how to get one of those for yourself. Basically, just PayPal us some money, and we'll send them to you. Anything else, fellas?
Nothing.
Thanks
sir.
for listening. Have a wonderful evening.
You got any more Epstein news you want to share right at the end? Just to wind us down, or
He's no longer with us, and I think the world is better for it. So anyway, that's sad and gross, and love you all. Bye.